It is day 12 of Donald Trump's not a war with Iran, and all attention is now locked on one of the world's most critical shipping lanes, the Strait of Hormuz. Which brings us to the latest edition of, we're going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. The room looked ordinary at first. Bright lights, band music, easy applause, the kind of late-night opening that usually glides by on quick laughs and harmless jabs. But the second Stephen Colbert sat behind the desk, you could feel the air change. He didn't open with a punchline, he opened with a principle. He said, "Politics has entered a dangerous age where confidence is sold as truth, volume is sold as strength, and contradiction is treated like a leadership style." The audience laughed lightly, but they were already leaning in. They knew this wasn't going to stay light for long. Then Stephen Colbert turned directly to Donald Trump. He said Trump had spent years building the same myth around himself, that he alone sees clearly, he alone tells it like it is, and everyone else is either weak, corrupt, or too stupid to understand his brilliance. But Colbert said there is one major problem with that act. If you slow it down, if you replay it line by line, the image starts to collapse under its own noise. That was the setup. Then he began rolling the clips, Trump talking tough, Trump contradicting himself, Trump promising control while chaos spread, Trump demanding loyalty while blaming everyone around him for the fallout. And layered into it, the familiar voice insisting, "They have to terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. If you don't, you won't pass any legislation." Colbert didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He simply placed the moments side by side and let the pattern start revealing itself. At first, the audience laughed because the contradictions sounded absurd, but as Stephen Colbert kept the clips rolling, the tone began to shift. The laughter softened, the pattern became clearer, and suddenly, it didn't feel like comedy anymore. It felt like exposure. Colbert said, "The strangest thing about Donald Trump is not that he lies, it's that he lies in a tone that expects applause." He explained that Trump speaks like a man who believes confidence alone should be enough to erase memory. He says one thing on Monday, another on Wednesday, and by Friday, he's furious that people still remember Monday. The audience burst out laughing at that line because it landed too cleanly. But underneath the laughter, there was recognition, the kind that makes the joke stick a little deeper. Then Stephen Colbert twisted the knife. He said Donald Trump does not really want to persuade people. He wants to exhaust them, confuse them, flood the room with so much noise that the truth gets tired before the lie does. That line shifted the entire room. Now he had them. He moved from jokes into structure. He said every Trump cycle follows the same script. First comes the big statement. Loud, dramatic, built to dominate the screen. Then comes the backlash. Then comes the cleanup. The denial. The, "I never meant it like that." The finger-pointing. The claim that the media twisted it. The insistence that everyone else is dishonest. And finally, the anger when people still refuse to forget what was originally said. Colbert leaned back and said, "It's not a communication strategy anymore. It's a haunted house where every room is just the last lie wearing a different hat." The crowd exploded. Then Stephen Colbert went even sharper. He said what makes Donald Trump dangerous is not just ego. America has survived egotists before. It's the combination of ego and power, performance and consequence. A man can play king in front of cameras all day long, but when that same man treats reality like a stage prop, real people pay the price. The room grew quieter. Colbert said Trump loves the language of strength, but panics whenever real strength is required. Calm, clarity, discipline, restraint, truth. Those things don't flatter him, so he replaces them with spectacle. He looked straight at the camera and said, "Trump behaves like a man who thinks leadership means never being questioned, and patriotism means clapping harder while the ceiling leaks." That line hit hard. Then he added, "And the maddest part is, he still acts shocked every time someone notices the leak." By now, the audience was completely with him. Colbert said Trump's real weakness has always been the same. He cannot stand being seen clearly, not criticized, seen. Because criticism he can fight. He can insult back, rage, demand loyalty, turn it into a feud. But clarity is different. Once people understand the pattern, once they see the performance for what it is, every new outburst starts sounding smaller, every boast rehearsed, every denial late. Then Stephen Colbert delivered the knockout line. Donald Trump wants to be treated like a strong man, but every time the truth walks into the room, he reacts like a man caught cheating at his own biography. The audience erupted, and somewhere, Trump was watching. At first came the smirk, the muttered insults, the usual dismissal, but as it went on, the reaction reportedly shifted. The pacing, the calls, the familiar complaints about bias, ratings, and washed-up comedians. Because Trump can handle being attacked. What he cannot handle is being calmly explained. Colbert closed with one final line. The problem for Donald Trump is not that people hate him, it's that more and more people understand him. He smiled, tapped the desk, and added, "And once the act is understood, all that's left is the tantrum." The band kicked in, the crowd roared, and the moment landed. Not because it was louder, but because it made the myth simple enough for everyone to see.